Hello guys, welcome back onto the channel. We're about to start a new challenge in Forza Horizon 3 where I use a lower class car and race it against much faster ones in a higher class than the one that I'm using. In this case, we are racing against the 4GT X class, which is the top class in this game, and let's see how we do. The purpose of this challenge is to see whether or not we can actually beat the faster car, or at least make it through the end before the timer runs out. For those of you who don't know, once the first player crosses the finish line, you get a 30-second timer for you to complete the race. So if you don't complete the race by the time the timer runs out, you're gonna get a DNF status right beside your nickname in the finishing results. And DNF means uh, did not finish the race. And this guy seems to have gotten stuck onto that tree, which is something very uh, normal to happen to people. And another thing that I need to mention is that these races, the collisions on these races are set to off because I don't want to have to deal with people trying to ram me off just because I managed to get past them somehow, which sometimes happen. I used to do these challenges a lot even before I had a channel, but it's been a long time since I've done some of these challenges, and since I had so much fun with them, I decided to bring some of them over to the channel. We're driving the AMC Javelin, and this is in B class if I'm not mistaken. This car can be a beast of a car in B class, but I have no idea of how well it is gonna do against an X class car. But it seems to me that this guy's been making a lot of mistakes. He has been hitting walls constantly. This is, I think, the second time that I spotted his car uh, standing still on the map due to a collision. Maybe he's 9.8 seconds ahead of us. I don't know why I braked here. I wasn't supposed to brake. Seems like he went a little bit too wide in there and maybe got stuck on 203. This section can be really tricky, so it's understandable that this type of mistakes might happen. Kind of curious to see how my car does on a straight line when compared to his. I know that the 4GT can be a really good car in S2 class, a really quick one and very quick around the corners as well. But I don't know if this guy sacrificed something in the top end of the car in order to be able to bring it all the way up to X class. And this guy makes another mistake apparently, and that puts me right where I wanted to be. I want to be fairly close to him when we reach the straight section in this track. This guy again makes another mistake. He's been making a lot of mistakes, so we might have a chance to actually beat him, but I don't know. It all depends on how many more mistakes is gonna make throughout the remainder of the race. I guess that the main difference between these older cars, lower class cars, against these more modern, faster ones, uh, comes down to their cornering speed. Because in these lower class cars, especially so the older ones, you need to brake quite a lot in order to be able to take the corners. Whereas these more modern, faster cars, you're able to take the corners at a much higher speed, and that gives you a nice advantage that you don't have in this type of cars. Seems to me that he made another mistake. Either this or he's making mistakes on purpose, just so I don't fall behind by too much. Because one of the things that I know is that especially so when you create these open lobbies rather than taking part in an online adventure, when you create these open lobbies, people tend to just quit the lobby once they get overtaken or once you create a certain gap. And if this guy knows what he's doing, if this guy has played this game as much as I did, then he's probably aware that most people would have quit the race by now. Which, if that's the case, he might be making a couple of mistakes on purpose just so don't I get too far behind and end up quitting the race, which is not going to happen. I'm not going to quit the race. I hate when people quit races just because they got overtaken. I can certainly understand when people quit races because they got screwed over or someone messed up with the race. But getting overtaken and just quitting because you don't want to get overtaken, kind of, to me, it kind of misses the point of racing. So, in order for me to at least be able to finish the race, I need to stay less than 30 seconds behind this guy. Otherwise, the timer that the game, the time that the game gives us to complete the race once the first place crosses the finish line is 30 seconds. And I know that this we're about to reach the city section of the track, which is probably the trickiest one. And this is where cars that don't have a good cornering ability suffer the most. So I think that's where we're gonna lose the most time. He seems to have made another mistake. I'm keeping an eye on the map just to see how well he is doing. So far, he's not that far off that I can see him on the map, but that's about to change now because, as I said, we're about to reach the city section, which is the trickiest one of the Goliath circuit. But once we get past the tricky sections, we're gonna get into a fairly long straight that's gonna level things up a little bit. He's 19 seconds ahead of me. Not that bad. That means we have a 10-second breathing room to maybe finish the race. Let's see if we can at least reel him in a little bit before we reach. Uh, there's just the last part of the track that's also, it's not as tricky as the city section, but it has some pretty deceiving corners that you need to be really careful around. Otherwise, you're gonna risk going off the track very easily. And as you can see, because the collisions are off, we managed to just go through the obstacles and not lose speed. That's not something that I'm gonna exploit in these challenges. I'm gonna try to stay on the track as close as possible for as long as possible, but in a couple cases, it's gonna be pretty difficult for me to do, especially so when I'm driving uh, cars like this. But as you can see, he's 20 seconds, 30 seconds ahead of me now. And at this point, unless he makes a huge mistake that uh, gives me a little bit of a couple of extra seconds closer to him, I don't see me finishing the race in time. But let's see. We still have a couple of tricky sections ahead of us, and that's, I think these are the sections that he's most likely to make a mistake, if he makes any at all. I'm just assuming based on the amount of mistakes he made so far. This is one of the tricky sections. In some of the cars, you're able to take this one flat out. Not so much in this car. Seems like he made a mistake because I managed to shorten the gap by about 4 seconds, but he's gaining on me again. All right. Now this is another one of those sections where it's very easy to overshoot, and I almost got stuck onto the uh, bridge entrance. Oh crap! I'm gonna hit a guardrail. Yeah, kind of saw that coming. Yeah, at this point, he's probably about to cross the finish line at any moment. I don't want him to stop by the finish line just to give me enough time to finish the race, but that might happen. I want this to be as true to the real thing as it is, so as it can be. So no, no mercy. I want people to race um, as they would against any other people. Seems to me that he made a mistake if that's not the finishing line. No, he's still racing. So yeah, that was a mistake that he made. Now the question still remains: can we finish within the time limit, or are we gonna get DNF'd? Oh crap! I should have made this mistake. Yeah, he's waiting by the finish line, definitely. So I'm gonna count this challenge as a fail. I wouldn't have finished the race in time uh, if it weren't for him waiting for us at the finish line. That's really nice of him. Don't take me wrong. I really appreciate people who do that because they want you to get um, the most amount of money as you possibly can out of the race, but at the same time defeats the purpose of the challenge. But then again, this person doesn't know I'm doing a challenge, so I can't expect too much from him. But yeah, even though we managed to finish within the time limit, that was a fail because he waited for us. So another one of those challenges where I don't finish within the time limit, but these are really fun to do, and I really recommend that you try this out because um, this can give you certain situations that you wouldn't have otherwise if you're running similarly spec'd cars in a race. But anyways, guys, that's been really fun. If you had fun and you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more Forza Horizon 3 content, share the video with your friends and on your social media. It helps me out a lot and I really appreciate the help. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. The links are in the description down below or at the beginning of the video. And I hope to see you guys on the next one. Bye.